Something a little bit surprising might send people to the polls in 2014, and that's the minimum wage. Now, yes, that's a little bit surprising, since in this country we seem to have agreed over the past couple of decades that we're just never going to raise it, and usually not even talk about it. Certainly not at the federal level, but certain states are actually going to be doing something about it. Now, yes, in blue states, you might have the legislature or possibly the governor working to raise the minimum wage, but there are actually three states, red states, that Democrats are going to be trying to hold on to Senate seats in the 2014 elections, where there will be a minimum wage raising ballot initiative. So we've got Alaska, Arkansas, and South Dakota, and this might actually be a good thing, because despite the fact that generally in the media and certainly in government there's no discussion over it, it's actually incredibly popular. Now, I'll get to what the right says about it, but first let's talk about what Americans actually think about raising the minimum wage. Now, if you just ask generally, 76% of Americans in total support raising the minimum wage. Now, there are not a lot of issues that you can get 76% of Americans to agree on, so that is a good sign just to begin with. But even once you break it down by party affiliation, the numbers are still incredibly positive. Among Republicans, for instance, 58% support raising the minimum wage. Now, obviously, when you look at independents and Democrats, you're not going to be surprised to find out that the number is even higher. 76% for independents, 91% for Democrats, but 58% of Republicans willing to raise the minimum wage. That is just insane, and it means that in those red states where Democrats are trying to hold on in the face of very tough opposition for their Senate seat, it might actually be an issue that they can win on. And there's a political scientist who thinks that they should try to do exactly that. Ray Tixiera says, "I think both Senate and House candidates will benefit, and absolutely endangered Dems would be wise to put this one in their arsenal. Of course, even strenuous advocacy of raising the minimum wage will not suddenly persuade a majority of white working class Republicans to support progressive candidates, but even modest white working class defections would go a long way, even or possibly especially in red states." So you've got multiple ballot initiatives, you've got them in red states where the Democrats need some sort of advantage. And so here is why I think that this is something that Democrats should run on in 2014. Now, the right has been historically, at least over the past 10 years, much better at using these ballot initiatives to drive people to the polls. Throughout 2004, 2006, a little bit earlier in the decade as well, you saw the anti-gay marriage ballot initiatives, and certainly the Republicans got a lot of traction for that. Now, they have lost that tool from their arsenal since you can only ban gay marriage so many times in the same state, but Democrats need some version of that. Now, I personally think that in the future, the ballot initiative that they should be pushing for at the state level in as many states as possible is the legalization of marijuana. Because if they want to get young Democrats out to the polls, if they want to pull some libertarians over to vote for the Democrats, I think that that's the best way to do it. But since they don't seem ready to do that, it'll take 2, 4, possibly 6 more years. This is a good thing to do in the interim. There was a time in American history where the Democratic Party, the left in particular, was for workers' rights. We got so many things that we just take for granted in this country because the labor movement, the unions, fought for it. The fact that I'm here recording this on a weekend and I don't have to be into work, that's a benefit that we've gotten because of that movement. The fact that there's a limit on how much they can require me to work is the same thing. Now, granted, I work much more than that, but that's my choice, and I enjoy making it. The fact that there's overtime, the fact that there's unemployment insurance, that there's workman's comp, all of these different things that we just take for granted and don't even think of the left for when we consider them, that's because of the movement that has long ago been abandoned in this country. Now, look, the economy is in shambles. We're in some ways in the worst period of stagnation that we've had for a very long time in this country. Something needs to be done about it. And both while you're fixing that, and if you want to get people to vote for your party so you can continue to do so in the federal government, you need to be able to rally them around certain issues. And I think that for a lot of people, the increasing amount of people who are working for minimum wage jobs, this is an easy way to get them to vote for you in the short term, while at the same time doing a great thing, because these people are struggling with 1, 2, sometimes even 3 or 4 jobs just trying to make ends meet. So you can do the right thing for those people while also benefiting your party. That seems like a win-win to me.